having our annual Customer Appreciation Sale, September 25th and 26th at our 40 West and Bellevue locations. We invite you to enjoy $2 off Seminole Wellness horse feeds, $1 off all Seminole feeds, 15% off in-store items, and much more. Our 40 West location will also feature food trucks and a Grand View Clydesdale. Come see us September 25th and 26th with store hours at 40 West, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Sunday. Our Bellevue location will be open from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Find us on Facebook or Instagram at Seminole Stores. It's Seminole Stores Customer Appreciation Day. With a prize for every purchase, we make it easy to provide you the ingredients of a winner.
Get it for less at the DIY Home Center outlet. Get top quality real wood cabinets the same or less than the big box stores are selling the cheap stuff. And that's not all. Drywall screws big box stores are $6.47 a pound. At DIY only $4.99. Plus DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
Johnny, what are you doing in the bathroom? What are you saying? Wait, where are your toy cars? Oh no, tell me you didn't. Honey, call Mike Scott Plumbing.
I didn't do anything.
For once, that's true, but little Johnny flushed his toys down the toilet and now it's broke.
Yes. I mean, oh no. I'll get the phone. What's the toll-free number?
866-314-4443.
Got it. 866-314-4443.
Mike Scott Plumbing. If water runs through it, they do it.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. On a Friday, Dumb Crook news still to come here on this Friday. Buying your first home is a huge milestone, but one that can be completely overwhelming. Believe me, I know that to be true. Many first-time home buyers have, rightfully so, a lot of questions and concerns about, the process, the titling, the signing the papers, getting them the mortgage set up and everything. Matter of fact, a survey just found that 60% of Americans that are likely to purchase a home in the next 12 months half of them feel the knowledge and comfortable home buying process isn't there. Well, they can now start by turning into a new podcast designed to normalize the home buying experience. Chase and Apple Music host Nadeska Alexis set out to answer prospective home buyers' burning questions in the Beginner to Buyer podcast through casual conversations in a judgment-free arena. Nadeska Alexis joins us this morning to talk about that podcast. Nadeska, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Tom. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, a home buying podcast. How did the idea of this podcast come about? And not only that, but why did you want to be involved with it?
Well, Tom, I think I would be one of those 60% of Americans who would have no idea when I was buying my first home. I had no idea how to get started. I was completely lost, completely overwhelmed, asking random friends for advice, Googling random advice, and just being generally flustered. And so obviously Chase has a lot of expertise in this area, so it was really a perfect partnership. I just wanted to save people from going through the misery that I did the first time. And so it's like you said, people have so many questions. And so the two big goals of this podcast are, one, to share information. I think anytime in life that you're making a big decision and you're scared and overwhelmed, going in with information really helps the situation. So you're going to hear from a lot of experts, home lending advisors, real estate agents, renovation experts, all the people who you would actually work with during that process. But instead of you having to search for them yourself on the internet, it's all streamlined in this podcast. And the questions that we're asking are actually coming from first-time buyers. So you're going to hear your concerns reflected. And secondly, which I think is just as important, you hear directly from other first-time home buyers. So again, big life decisions, big life changes, it can feel scary because you feel like you're really alone in that process. But we spoke to a huge variety of first-time buyers, young couples, single parents, older couples with no children, Army veterans, people scattered all across the country. So there's a really good chance you're going to hear from someone that you can relate to, which I think is really helpful.
I remember the first time my wife and I bought a home. It was in 1996 in North Carolina, and we went through the process, and I'd always heard you needed a lawyer to buy a home. So I was like, we need a lawyer. And her dad was like, no, we don't need a lawyer. We just need a good real estate agent. And then I was like, and now we can't touch our bank account. Once we apply for a mortgage, we have to use cash. We can't, our bank account needs to stay the same. There's so many different concerns and everything. And these are the type of questions you're talking about you answer.
Yes, exactly. You know, these are the kind of things that when you go down that Google wormhole and you're trying to find answers to these things, it'll make you go insane after a while. You know,
Insane.
so try to, yeah, absolutely not. So we structured beginner to buyer in a way that it really streamlines the process, and you can jump in at any point that you are. So, you know, when you and your wife are just considering buying the house, but you still weren't sure where to begin, of course you can start with episode 1, and that will give you advice. Maybe you're at the point where you've already put an offer on a house, and now you're negotiating and you're not really sure what comes next. You can jump in a couple episodes in, and there's an episode for that. Even to the end of the process, as you're getting your keys, you've closed, and now you're trying to figure out budgeting. How much should I have saved in case of emergency repairs? How much can I spend on renovations? What renovations actually make sense to help me build equity in my home moving forward? Which ones should I avoid? There's something for every part of the journey that you're on. So even if you're just thinking a few years down the line and you're worried about financial planning, I would still say that beginner to buyer has a lot of helpful information for you.
So beginner to buyer has the question answered, and here's the question in Florida. Should I dig a pool, and if I do, does it help my home price?
You know what's so funny? One of our experts, who's a financial planner, I believe she lived out in Arizona, where, of course, you know, you have that dry desert heat. So here on the East Coast in New York, there's no way that I could justify putting in a pool. But she said if you live in somewhere like Arizona, that's a big deal for buyers who live there. It will be the same probably in Florida. So those are all valid questions. You know, it totally depends on the area that you're buying in. So, you know, these are definitely the kind of questions we'll answer for you.
Nadeska, when you're bundled up in New York in January and it's like 18 degrees, 17 degrees for a high, we'll probably be about 71, 72 degrees where we're at. Just letting you know.
You know, it's not nice to say this to me as we're approaching that season, because it's technically fall now, but this lasts about a few weeks, and then I'm going to be bundled up. So thank you so much, Tom. I'm going to have that idea of you lounging at the pool while I'm freezing up here in Brooklyn.
Look, we have 3 seasons in Florida: snowbird, hurricane, and flip-flop. That's what we got here. Hey, what's one of the biggest home buying lessons? What's one of the biggest home buying lessons you learned so far in this process?
One thing I learned is sort of going in with a really realistic list of what you need in your first home. Because as one of our experts told us, we spoke to Drew and Jonathan Scott, who have a lot of experience renovating homes. People sometimes going with these big, grand visions of always having the house. They want the house, the one they're going to live in for their entire lifetime that costs $2 million, and you could go way over budget. I learned from them, and also in my personal experience, that you need to have a list of really tangible must-have items that are important for you at that moment in your life. You know, so you and your wife would have needed something more specific than I, as a young single person, would have needed when I bought my first home. And you really need to stick to that list, right? You don't ever want to put yourself in a situation where just because you could afford the down payment, you could afford a more expensive house, you do it, and then you end up with buyer's remorse. You have this very expensive house. You have a lot of other bills. People don't think about things like taxes. That's something that we cover, right? Property taxes aren't a thing to you when you're renting a home, when you're renting an apartment, for example, but when you buy, it matters. So I say having that list of must-haves and really staying firm within that list and within your budget and not overspending is really important.
And you answer questions like, should our budget include the renovations? If we find that house we love, but it's a little dated and it needs some renovations, should our budget include that? Those are questions all to get answered in this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. And, we go through the kinds of renovations, like we were saying, things like, besides the pool, things like the kitchen, like upgrading the kitchen is something that surely you can budget from. Maybe you find a house that's in the perfect neighborhood, has a great school for your kids, it's safe, but the kitchen isn't amazing, but you get a great deal on the house. Why wouldn't you be able to budget in for renovating a kitchen? That's like an area where most families spend so much time. That's always going to add value and equity to your home, so you should figure it out. And while I was talking to Drew and Jonathan Scott, they made the joke that for some people, not everyone wants to necessarily undertake renovations. And it doesn't have to be turning the whole home upside down. It can just be small things. But some people will be like, well, I don't like the paint color in this kitchen. I can't buy the house. That's not really realistic. It's really easy to get a paint job done. So just, again, figure out things that are doable, that won't upend your life, even if it's slightly inconvenient for a little bit, but it will save you money and add value in the long run. That's really important as well.
We're talking with Nadeska Alexis. Nadeska, where can our listeners go to hear this podcast?
So this Beginner to Buyer is available on Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go check it out. And like I said, no matter where you are in your journey, beginning, end, middle, if you're thinking just a few years down the line that you want to buy but you don't know what you should be doing right now, I promise we cover so much ground. We have so much expertise, and you're going to hear a lot of people who have the same questions and concerns as you. So I think you're going to find a lot of helpful information there.
Nadeska, thanks so much for joining us this morning and giving us a little insight onto what sounds like a very interesting podcast. Thanks, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Tom.
We'll be right back after this timeout. You're listening to 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
What you need is RoofMax. RoofMax is a revolutionary green roofing solution that can save you $10,000 or more by greatly extending the life of your existing roof. Here's how it works. Asphalt roof shingles have essential oils to keep them flexible and waterproof. Over time, this oil dries out, causing your roof to become brittle and